Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to a breaking news edition of the SevereMMA podcast, whatever you want to call it, SevereMMA YouTube channel here. Joined by Harry Powell, joined by Ian O'Neill. We had just finished our preview show for UFC 279. That'll be out tomorrow. You can watch that. We saw the news, came up on Twitter. Brett Okamoto, I think, reported that Michael Chandler is going to be taking on Dustin Poirier. We said we'd do a quick breakdown of that fight, a quick initial reaction. Honestly, lads, I saw it a little bit earlier. My initial reaction was stay fucking hydrated, because this one's going to make us all sweat. What a fucking fight this is going to be. I absolutely can't wait for it. I felt like, we broke down there earlier on the welterweight division, how great it was, how many great fighters there are in there, and how many great possible matchups there are. Lightweight, it feels like it's the same, but there was too much of kind of the same. There was too much of lads waiting for title shots. There was too much. And now it feels like we're entering an era where we're going to get more fights. We're going to get more of the contenders fighting each other, hopefully. And hopefully this is the start of it. Ian, let me throw it over to you first. Initial reaction on this great fight. I can't wait for it. What are you thinking?
A fight long time in the making. I know these two lads wanted this for a long time, and I'm so glad that it's happening because, we had a little bit of drama in the crowd. We had Mike Chandler and his antics after the last fight. Great. Like, for me, with Mike Chandler and him moving over to the UFC, my estimation of him has gone up massively, and my respect for him has gone up massively because he knew he had a great chance coming into the UFC to cause a stir, and he has not got the wins there, but he has caused that stir. He's got that title shot against Charles. He's got that loss against Justin Gaethje, which was an absolute phenomenal fight as well. That front kick to the face against Tony Ferguson will live long in the memory from everyone. He has played his cards right. We've seen guys coming over from Bellator, from other organizations, who have not done themselves justice in the way they've fought, in the way they've kind of tried to sell themselves. Michael Chandler has gone out there and sold himself perfectly. He deserves to be in these big fights for the way he's carried on. He's got my respect for doing that, and this one is going to be a real barn burner and a really difficult test for him too against Dustin Poirier.
Harry, we'll get into maybe the technical breakdown of it in a second, but what was your initial reaction to the fight in terms of excitement levels? Is it one of the ones you put on your list for the 2 or 3 fights you're looking forward to the most over the next few weeks and months?
So you'll see that I wasn't just looking at the camera because I was pre-ordering my popcorn for that night, right? What a fucking screamer of a fight this is. Give me all of that, lads. All a little bit of salt in the popcorn, yeah. What a fucking fight this is. Look, Dustin Poirier sort of shoehorned himself into a position of real admiration, I think, from fans over the recent while. The way he's conducted himself throughout his career, his move to 155, the way he deals with losses, the way he portrays himself as a family man. Michael Chandler's done essentially the exact same thing. He's come in, he's given the UFC everything they want, but he's also given fans everything they want, and that's something that I think gets a lot of respect from me personally. This fight is 2 of the elite at 155. I think there's some really interesting technical questions that immediately come to mind as this fight gets announced to me, but I cannot wait. What a fucking scrap this is.
I actually think, funny enough, those technical questions probably would have been more applicable a few years ago. I feel like both of these guys have become more kind of loose, willing to fight, willing to train, especially Michael Chandler. Like, it feels like Michael Chandler came to the UFC and goes, do you know what? I had a great career. I did all I needed to do. I achieved everything in Bellator. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to have fun fights. People are going to remember me as, it felt like he wanted to have a Diego Sanchez in his prime start the career, and some people might think that's negative, but that's a massive positive coming from me. I love a Diego Sanchez, but even whoever else it might be, just an exciting, all the fights Ian mentioned there at the start when I threw it over to him, just absolutely brilliant. And I feel like Poirier maybe hasn't entered into that stage of his career as much, but Poirier generally is an exciting fighter anyway. Throws hands, has great submissions, or had anyway back in the day when jiu-jitsu worked in MMA, and it's one of those fights where, like, Michael Chandler has been going in there cracking lads hard. I think a lot of people would agree that Dustin Poirier is, if he's not the hardest hitting 155 pounder in the world, no, well, Jeremy Stevens is up at 155 as well, so maybe not, but he's right up there. He can hit, and he like an absolute truck. it feels like, if we can go for technical breakdown in a second, but if let me ask you this question, Ian, right? If it does break into war, who's going to win that war?
Oh, like I mean, with fighters at these caliber, who have the power that both of these guys have, anything could happen. I mean, we've seen Michael Chandler go in there and go toe to toe with Justin Gaethje, get hurt, recover, come back. He lost that fight, but he came close to winning, and at the end, he hurt Justin Gaethje too. So both of these guys possess power. I think from what I've seen so far, who's more comfortable in the chaos and who can remain a little bit calmer in the chaos, to me, it's Dustin Poirier. So I think if it does break out into an all-out war, it's likely going to be Dustin Poirier who will find the cleaner shots in that pocket, in the madness, and probably get Mike Chandler out of there.
What do you think, Harry?
I couldn't agree more. I think the superior infighting, the superior pocket fighting, the superior boxing fundamentals, and the superior head movement sits with Dustin Poirier, right? I think to your point, though, I just wanted to add this and throw it over to you to see what your guys' opinion is. But it feels to me as though Michael Chandler, in his last little while at Bellator, just watched Justin Gaethje. Was like, shit, I'm a better fighter than this motherfucker. So if I go out and just follow that same game plan, I'm going to win more fights and take less damage than he is. And it's worked. You know what I mean? Like, it really has worked.
It's worked, and it's worked also for him, Harry, in the fact that he's still getting rewarded with these big fights, even though he's losing these fights. But if you're going to go out there and lose fights in the UFC, you go out there and you fucking lose them like Michael Chandler does, and you go in barn burners and you take damage and you give damage and you have people talking. And then it was the accumulation and the ultimate knockout shot and that front punt to the face on Tony Ferguson. That was just the perfect way to set up this fight too.
Another very interesting thing, lads, right? You see a fight like this with two, I don't know where they're ranked, maybe number 4 and 5 or something in the division, something like that, right? You usually see a fight like that against two of those guys, you think, right, the winner of that maybe be the number 1 contender. But you look at this fight, right, and you look at Nathan Diaz this week having his last fight in the UFC, and the last guy to fight a certain Conor McGregor was Dustin Poirier, and after that everyone was talking about the rematch, you know, especially because people thought Dustin Poirier was going to win the title against Oliveira, wasn't it? And you know, McGregor versus Poirier for the title when it came back. What happened after Michael Chandler's last fight? He called out Conor McGregor. McGregor agreed. He said, this could be the fight. You know, they should have the red panties hanging above the octagon on a you know, I get the steel ladders out and stuff for this. It really could be the fight to fight Conor McGregor. And that, you know, someone accused me during the week of having a Conor McGregor podcast, but like, we can't. He's on his way back. He's going to be coming back soon. And it's going to be a big amount of money for whoever's going to be fighting him. Do you think, lads, either of you, Ian, I'll throw it to you first, do you think this could be it? Do you think the winner of this could be the Conor McGregor's next opponent?
Yeah, it could very well be. And you know what, this I do agree with everything you said, but there's another little wrinkle I'd like to add to it as well, and that's what could happen at UFC 280 is that we will have a new champion crowned one way or another. But if it's Islam Makhachev, then that's fresh meat as the champion, and that gives Dustin Poirier maybe a little bit more confidence maybe to go up and try and challenge him, as it does Mike Chandler, who Charles Oliveira has kind of beaten them both. But it's kind of more like, to me, Dustin Poirier's fight to lose. But I would, if both of those guys were not forced to pick, if they were forced to choose who would they prefer to fight, it would be Conor McGregor all day long. So that's what the money fight is. That's the unofficial title fight in the division right now. That's what everybody wants.
What do you think, Harry?
I mean, Poirier already done it. He already chose the McGregor fight, right? He had the title there and waiting and was like, you're fucking mad, didn't you? Give me that, lad. Not only maybe because he picked himself to win that matchup easier, right? Maybe he saw things in that matchup that he thought he was going to be able to counter, and turns out he was right, you know? Maybe, you know, it's the money factor. I'm sure the money factor had a huge deal, right? A huge deal to do with it. For me, I think, look, Conor can fight whoever he wants, right? So if he wants to come back and do Islam Makhachev, they'll probably set that up. If he wants to come back and do Charlie Olives, if that's the fight, they'll do that, right? If he wants to come back and say, well, maybe I've had a significant amount of time out, I haven't won a fight in a little while, maybe I want to come out, prove myself as a legitimate title contender in a meritocracy standpoint, and then go and fight for the title, I think he could choose whoever the fuck he wants to fight. I think it really depends on what McGregor wants, because that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose to round this out, it doesn't matter if the winner of this fights for the title. It doesn't matter if the winner of this fights McGregor. It doesn't matter what comes after. It's what's going to go down in that 15 minutes inside the octagon that the three of us and probably everyone listening to this are going to be excited about, because if there's a guaranteed great fight, and there's very few in them in MMA now because of the level of ability, this is a guaranteed great fight. I really cannot wait for it. I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant, and we will be there even closer to the day to preview. We will leave it at that. I am Sean Sheehan, for Ian O'Neill and Harry Powell. We'll see you next time.